Movie opens with Leo. Leo was a calm-natured boy, 21 years old. He usually stayed at home, spending his time watching movies. He lived with his mother, but one day suddenly, his mother passed away. Relatives gathered for the funeral. Leo had a stepsister who lived in another city. When she received the news of her mother's death, she left immediately to attend the funeral. Patricia was the one driving. Her mother's death had been a huge shock for her. After the mother's passing, there was no one left to take care of Leo. Patricia was a successful and energetic young woman. When she arrived at the house, she saw her mother's body being taken away for post-mortem. Meanwhile, Leo was standing at a distance, watching a neighbor girl who was combing her hair. After the farewell ceremony, when Patricia returned home, Leo's tutor had arrived to give him lessons. Patricia met the tutor, explained the situation in the house, and politely sent him away. When Patricia entered the house, she called out to Emilio, but he didn't respond. Instead, he was standing on the stairs, secretly taking pictures of her. Once inside the room, she opened the window to let in sunlight and explained to Emilio, "You don't get enough sunlight, that's why your face has turned pale. You should keep the windows open for fresh air." She went around opening all the windows one by one and then asked him, "Where is my room? From now on, I'll be staying here to take care of you, because I promised Mom that I would." Emilio asked Patricia, "But what about your studio and company?" Patricia replied, "I sold everything. I got a good amount of money, and now I'll live here and build my work from this place." Hearing this, Emilio felt uneasy and put on his headphones to distract himself. The next morning, Patricia came to Emilio's room, woke him up, and told him to come outside with her. Emilio didn't feel like going out, so he said, "If something happens to me, it will be your responsibility." In fact, Emilio was often sick. Still, the two of them went out together. Emilio wore a hat because he was allergic to sunlight. Once outside, Patricia showed him some trees and explained their benefits. But Emilio moved away and sat somewhere else. He simply didn't enjoy being outdoors, and before long, he hurried back home. At night, Patricia cooks dinner, and she and Emilio eat together. During the meal, Patricia asked him about his girlfriend, but Emilio has never had one, so he doesn't have much to say. The next morning, Emilio is busy with his exercise routine, while Patricia is redesigning the house once again. Afterward, Emilio goes for a walk and steps out onto the balcony, where he sees the same girl who lives next door. Patricia joins him, and noticing the way he's looking at the girl, immediately realizes that Emilio likes her. She teases him, asking, "Is she your girlfriend?" Emilio denies it, saying, "I'm just looking at her." Patricia tells him, "Why don't you propose to her?" But Emilio replies, "That's not something I can do." Patricia leaves the balcony without pressing further. That night, Emilio is watching a movie when Patricia comes in. She gathers up all his magazines and books, telling him to keep his room neat and tidy. Emilio doesn't like this and, annoyed, shines a flashlight on her, telling her to stop spying on him. The next day, Patricia makes Emilio join her in exercise, but he quickly gets tired and gives up. Patricia encourages him, "You should go outside, make lots of friends." Emilio replies, "I don't need anyone. I'm happy alone. And what if I go out, get into an accident, or fall sick? What will happen to me then?" Patricia tries to comfort him, saying, "You shouldn't think that way. Death comes for everyone one day, but life is beautiful." Later, after taking a bath, Patricia comes to Emilio again. With affection, she hugs him and softly tells him to enjoy life. But deep inside, Emilio wanted something else, understood what he really needed, so she went back to her own bed. Lying down, she began thinking when suddenly Emilio came to her, asking her to go out with him. Emilio had changed his mood and wanted to go out for a walk, but Patricia refused, saying she wanted to rest that day. Patricia, however, was in a romantic mood herself. She called her boyfriend, Ari, and asked him to come quickly. Though Ari was busy with work, he couldn't refuse Patricia. She had invited him over to finish something important. Patricia arranged a dinner at her house and even planned a small party. She also got Emilio ready for the evening. During the party, all of Patricia's friends enjoyed themselves, while Emilio sat alone with his headphones on. Patricia didn't like seeing this. After a while, Emilio got bored and went back to his bed. While he was sleeping in his room, he suddenly heard noises. Emilio quietly returned to his bed and lay down again. His friend asked her, "Why did it feel like you were thinking of someone else while we were making love?" Patricia replied, "Don't worry about that." A little later, Patricia came into Emilio's room. He was lying there with headphones on, listening to something. Patricia sat beside him, turned off his Walkman, and began talking about girls. Then she started telling him her own story about how she once had a relationship with a stranger. stranger. Emilio listened carefully, but the story disturbed him deeply. The next day, they went to a hotel, ordered food, and talked a lot while eating. Afterward, they returned home. Back at the house, Emilio told her that he didn't like the hotel food at all and wanted her to continue her story. Patricia began telling him how she once started talking to her friend's boyfriend, and soon they developed a strong attachment. A few days later, they met again. While telling this story, Patricia's mood suddenly changed, and she left for her room. The following morning, the two of them went out on a boat trip. They sailed until they reached a beach. Emilio tied up the boat and set up a tent for himself while Patricia went swimming. After a while, she disappeared. Emilio couldn't see her anywhere and panicked. He called out, but there was no response. Terrified, he thought Patricia had drowned. Heartbroken, he returned to the beach, only to see Patricia suddenly appear laughing. She told him she was just playing a prank. Emilio was upset and walked away with his umbrella, ignoring her. That night, Patricia came into his room and asked, "Why can't you sleep?" Emilio replied, "It's too hot in here." Patricia smiled and said, "If you want, I can tell you another story." Emilio agreed. Then Patricia told him how she used to invite a friend over to her house to play cricket. The next day, they were setting up a studio when Patricia told Emilio, "I don't have any more stories to tell you." Emilio protested, "But you promised to tell me a story about yourself every night before I fall asleep." The truth was, Emilio had started to like her stories. He had begun to pay close attention to every detail. But Patricia didn't want Emilio to know more about her past, so she decided to stop. A little later, a model arrived. Patricia had invited her for a photo shoot in her studio. The model began showing Patricia her artistry. Meanwhile, Emilio was standing on the balcony, looking at his neighbor, the girl he had secretly liked for a long time. Just then, Patricia called him inside. When Emilio entered the room, the model tried to cling to him. She wanted to seduce him with her charm, but Emilio didn't like it at all. While the model and Emilio were talking, Patricia felt up. A few days passed like this. One day, Emilio's tutor came over to give him lessons. The tutor asked Emilio whether he really wanted to continue his studies because he felt Emilio had lost interest in learning. But Emilio assured him that he wanted to keep studying. Later, while everyone was having dinner, Emilio told Patricia that the tutor was looking at her with. Patricia was offended by this remark and insulted the tutor before storming away. That night, Emilio and Patricia got into an argument. Emilio wanted to hear another story from her, but Patricia explained that she had no stories left to tell. Afterward, they went out to watch a movie. There, Emilio gave Patricia a challenge. If she could make a man, he would believe that all her past stories were true. Patricia then sat next to a man, and seeing this, Emilio became convinced that her stories were indeed real. The next day, Patricia called Emilio's tutor to apologize and invited him to meet her in the garden. Emilio overheard this and felt hurt. He secretly followed her and saw Patricia walking happily with the tutor in the garden. They looked cheerful together. Suddenly, Patricia disappeared with the tutor to the other side of the garden. At that very moment, Emilio arrived and angrily confronted his tutor. Emilio fought with him, but Patricia somehow calmed Emilio down and managed to bring him home. Once they reached home, Emilio, still furious, shouted at Patricia, telling her to leave immediately. He said he couldn't tolerate her behavior anymore. Patricia tried to explain that she was only taking the tutor's help to restart her studio, but Emilio couldn't bring himself to believe her. The next day, Patricia's fashion show begins. During the show, Emilio has fun with one of the runway models, signaling to her which outfits he likes. After the show ends, Patricia starts heading home with her colleagues, but Emilio stops her on the way. He apologizes for what happened the previous night. Just then, Emilio meets Patricia's boyfriend. Emilio invites him over for dinner at their house. Patricia can't refuse, so the three of them go home together. After dinner, Patricia goes into her room. She felt guilty that she was no longer able to properly take care of him. The next morning, Patricia is packing her clothes when Emilio walks in. He asks her, "What are you doing?" Patricia's heart was already broken. Her wedding with her boyfriend was scheduled for that very night. She only wanted to return to her city. Emilio tried to stop her, feeling devastated. Out of pity for him, Patricia agreed to stay in the house a little longer, but she made one condition: "If I stay here with my boyfriend, you must promise not to feel bad." At that moment, Patricia revealed that she was marrying Ari since he had proposed to her. Emilio fell into deep thought, wondering what would happen to him once Patricia was gone. That night, Emilio did not attend her wedding. He was heartbroken over Patricia. When Patricia returned after the wedding, she asked her new husband to go and spend time with his relatives. Then she came to Emilio and confessed, "And we shouldn't waste any more time. My husband won't be back for a while." A little later, Patricia returned to her husband, while Emilio stood at his window, watching her leave. Emilio was left heartbroken. He had lost Patricia forever. Now, there was no one left to take care of him. And with that, the movie comes to an end.